We ready?
It's been recording for a little bit.
Oh, has it?
Oh, you got all that recording.
I missed the first little part, and then I'm like, "Oh, this is juicy stuff."
So we were talking about
Don't let the abusing straight men get into the podcast.
Exactly.
We'll offend too many people.
Way too many.
Mm.
Amen.
There's no such thing as nice guys.
I believe the church is in better condition than it has been at any time in its entire history. My beloved brethren and sisters,
welcome to Once Upon
a Mormon,
another testament of religious abuse.
So many have been hurt.
Persecutions may rage, mobs may combine.
whom shall we go?
Sown in corruption. We need you.
Never again.
Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Once Upon a Mormon. Not Once a Mormon. Once Upon a Mormon.
You sound so professional when you start up the podcast.
I should add the radio announcer voice to that.
Oh,
That'd be pretty sick. I found when I do the editing, I found a heap of like preset stuff, and it comes up pretty sick. So
we should do that.
Well,
That would be interesting.
Sister Donna,
Hi.
you're joining me today.
I am.
Welcome back.
I'm live in the studio.
In the studio.
In your lounge room. I'm so comfy right now. This is the best.
We're having sleepovers tonight.
Yeah.
On a school night as well.
Yeah, on a school night. Yeah, no, I'm here for work because I've got a job early tomorrow morning that's nearby, and yeah, thought I'd come by, steal some of your food, sleep in your house.
I mean, it was pretty good curry.
It was really good curry.
Pretty happy with that.
Yeah, these
Vegan
guys.
curry.
Yeah.
Yum.
It's delicious.
The shame Sister May couldn't be here.
I know.
We had
so far away.
We had our picnic on the weekend.
Yes.
That was so cool. Thank you to everybody that came along. If you listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
we had a fat time.
Yeah, I mean, if we got any new listeners as well, welcome. It was so nice to meet you all. I'm sorry if I'm not a very social person, and I did feel pretty awkward to start with when I got there. Sorry guys, I don't know how to podcast.
Practice makes perfect. And I've got a pop filter on this time, on top of the pop filter, because I breathe really loudly.
So the pop.
Anyway,
Sorry.
so we ended up having about I think it was 23 people that I counted at the picnic.
23, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
we had a lot of people there.
Whoa.
It was so good to see because it's all people that are local to Brisbane, and even then we've got another page for post-Mormons that we're on for Australia, and there were so many people in Brisbane like, oh, I wish I had to come now, and it's like, well, you should have.
Yeah. I mean, next time. We're going to have to do these more regularly, I think.
Once a quarter would be good. I think that's a very reasonable thing.
Let's go to a different park, though. Oh my God.
It sounded like a good idea in my head. It was so freaking busy.
It's insane.
And then where we pulled up, we came in and, we came across the first sort of seated area, and it was a fucking playground. Fucking kids everywhere.
To hang out with children.
So, yeah, it didn't quite go as planned, but you know what? It worked out really well.
Yeah.
We had so much fun.
It was
We
good.
had mad chats.
We did have some good chats.
So thank you to everybody that came along.
Thank you very much. We, enjoyed meeting you all.
Other than that, I think, Sister May had a few car problems, so she wasn't able to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But next time she will, I'm sure.
We miss Sister May.
We do. But, and before that, the weekend before, Sister May and I went to a funeral from an old church friend.
Yeah. How was that?
It was interesting because his mother had passed away back in November. So that was that last funeral I went to.
Yeah.
So this time Sister May came along because she knew him. And it was a surreal experience because, we're both there in church and we're like, what is this shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the service itself was, it was really Mormon. The burial was awesome. Like it was so personal. It was so meaningful. They
Wait, did they have to get buried in the... Sorry, I know that you're just saying this is really like meaningful and personal, but I just like had a thought. I was just wondering, were they buried in their temple clothes?
he hadn't gone through the temple.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the
Lucky.
mother would have been.
Yeah.
But he didn't go through the temple.
Okay.
So as far as I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he had been, he would have been buried in his temple clothes. So, but yeah, no, it went really well. And it was good. I caught up with a few people. And I guess it really opened my eyes to, the friendships that I used to have that I really miss. So there's a couple of guys that I caught up with that, really want to start reconnecting. And I started to recognize some of the toxic traits that I used to show and sort of been still working on getting past.
Yeah.
And so I guess I've been having the feels this last week. Not only, he was going and, saying goodbye to an old friend, but also the chance to reconnect with other old friends as well.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely a priority coming up soon. But yeah,
Well, that's good.
Sister May came along and it went really well, and we had a good day together.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I came and hung out with you guys the night before, and that was nice.
yes,
Yeah.
it was, wasn't it?
It's very nice.
Bring some brownies, they said.
We had a great time.
Sister May could not stop laughing. It was the funniest thing ever.
It was so great.
And then we watched Sausage Party?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What a
Man,
movie.
that is, I'm not...
What a movie.
That was wild.
It was wild, but that was cool. We had fun.
And then I fell asleep trying to watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
While I was doing the dishes.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that has been our few weeks. Today, we actually have a special guest on the podcast with us.
We do.
We have invited and is in person the husband of the Brother Hyrum. Welcome along.
Hi.
Hi.
It's so good to have you in studio.
Oh, it's good to be sitting in my own chair.
Even though you live in the studio.
Yeah. I mean, I decorated this room. So.
You did. You did
Yeah.
a fabulous job. So thank you for coming along. We have a plan to get our partners onto the podcast, and that way they can sort of talk about their experiences looking at our recovery out of the church and sort of seeing what their view and opinion of the church is.
Yeah.
So thank you. But I think it is only fitting that because you have now entered the cult,
Oh.
you shall from here on receive a new name. So bear with me as I exercise my priesthood authority. I lost it. Hang on, where is it?
You Googling it.
I had to Google it.
So how does it work? Is it based on the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to think that it was like, the temple workers were inspired or something and whatever, but it's actually like a predefined list
Yeah,
based
it's a
on the
roster.
date.
It's just like you fall on a Friday and you have this magnitude. You would be known as David.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very much. So here we go as I exercise my holy priesthood. Brother, husband of the Brother Hyrum.
It sounds incestuous.
Hey, you're not supposed to talk during this. Shh.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Having authority, I place this garment upon you, which you must wear throughout your life. It represents the garment given to Adam when he was found naked in the Garden of Eden.
Sorry.
Hey, I'm going to mute you in a minute.
Okay, sorry.
And is called the garment of the holy priesthood, inasmuch as you do not defile it, but are true and faithful to your covenants. It will be a shield and a protection to you against the power of the destroyer until you have finished your work here on earth. With this garment, I give you a new name, which you should always remember and which you must keep sacred and never reveal except at a certain place, which will be shown your hereafter. The name is Mosiah.
Oh, that's exotic.
Boom.
Where's
dum, dum.
Mosiah from?
The bomb.
The bomb.
The Book of Mormon.
Oh, cool.
So, formally, on behalf of Sister Donna, Sister May, and myself, Brother Mosiah, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Lovely to be here.
So, we have a few rules.
Yep.
We don't reveal our actual names.
Okay.
So,
So we treat our real names as sacred.
we treat them sacred.
Can I use my puppy name for you?
I'm going to put you on mute permanently. Anyway,
Come on,
moving
it's
on.
cute.
So we wanted to bring you on and just, have a bit of an interview, a bit of an interrogation, and get your spin on what you see. So I guess to start off, one of the questions I think might be helpful is, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with religion in general?
Okay. So I come from a predominantly Baptist Christian family. I grew up in a small town in South Queensland, which had its own church, and I had my grandparents, my parents, and my siblings and I all really heavily involved when we were growing up. In my experiences, it was more on the negative side. We had extreme behavior from members of the church. There was a lot of, I guess the best way I can say it was bullying. There was a lot of misogyny, racism, the standard stuff you come to think of when you think of extreme churchgoers.
Yeah.
When it comes down to my personal, I've always saw it as more of a choice, but also something that should always be questioned. So, I always saw religion as like maybe a tool for people to feel more of a livelihood or feel more accepted in reality for what it is. And so I've never questioned people's beliefs, but there are things about certain beliefs that I would question regularly. No.
Okay, so I guess that's a bit of a good intro into sort of where you come from.
Wait. So you grew up like in this Baptist church. How long, like, did you just kind of stay in it? Like, did your parents go to church every Sunday? Like, how much activity did you have in it?
So my grandparents were the true Bible bashers of our family.
Yeah.
Granddad more so than grandma, but grandma was pushing for us to go to church every Sunday because she fully believed in it. And, it was for her, it was like a family thing to push so that, when you all pass, you can all meet up in the other life. And I'm like, Mom, oh my God, you don't want all of us there. Trust me.
Only me. I'm your favorite.
I'm your
favorite.
But it was a lot of exposure up until maybe I would say 14. And then 14, I really kind of rebelled against it. I refused to go. My parents pushed it. I think because I was starting to come to terms with my own sexuality. So, Baptist Christians, they're really heavy with the homophobia, and they laid it on me hard. And my parents, they tried to understand the best they could, but they couldn't shake off certain things like, I should never get married, which changed for my mom, but I'm not too sure about my dad. We haven't really talked for a few years.
Yeah, right.
And, it's kind of decayed into no one goes to church anymore. My dad's still pretty heavy on religion. My mom, I'm not too sure about. My mom's trying to focusing on her dysfunctional children.
Yeah.
She's got 8 of them and we're all fucked up. Yeah, she really wanted a daughter. And
Last one.
It took 7 tries, but she got a daughter. But she couldn't even just have like a solid daughter. It had to be a twin. So she has like 1 daughter, 1 son combo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's always been a negative experience for me. And I had a rebellion as a child. I hated it. And I very vocally threw it back in everyone's faces when they came to me about, have you met Jesus? Have you done this, done that? I used to very vocally reject anyone who believed it and used to mock them in a way. But it took certain people in my life to change around and to realize that there is a place for belief. But there's always extreme behavior in everything. So I can't just shame an entire people for what they believe in, when only a handful of them can be really dangerous about it.
Yeah.
Because that like borderlines a lot of different topics, such as like racism. You know, it's like you shouldn't generalize a group of people. So I try to keep very neutral, which actually played a lot of roles when it came to a lot of arguments between me and Brother Hyrum.
What are you going to call me, Brother Hyrum?
Brother Hey.
Hey.
I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say I'm more mellow. I'm more open-minded. Still identify as a atheist.
Yeah.
But I'm open to listening to others.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You've built quite the open-minded approach, which I guess I see in your life as something that helps you when it comes to dealing with people in general. So, okay. Well, I guess I have some questions.
Yes.
So, just in general, before we get into like the deep and meaningful, can you tell me, in your own words, what is a Mormon church and where did it come from?
Oh, this is the fun one. Okay, so are we going from my understanding now? Like how would I describe to someone else who doesn't know a church?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say unconventional. Kind of crazy. Like I would say
That is accurate.
Yeah, it is.
there are things about the church where I'm like, listen, think of like standard church practices. You know, they believe in, you know, being neighborly, kind-hearted and all that. Sometimes there are more gentler sides and more community sides to it that are like, you know, help each other. If you need help, you can seek out a member of your church and, you know, they can, what do you call it? You're called to help. Called to serve.
Yeah.
Called to serve. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. So there's that. But if I were to go like, oh, well, what's the real side of it that kind of freaks you out? I'm like, they do a lot with the dead.
Yeah.
They do a lot with the dead.
We do.
They have special garments that are they're protective over. And there's special things on them that make them special. But if you cut them off, they're not special.
Yeah.
I've said special too many times.
I mean, that's a pretty good summary.
We gave you a garment when we
You have your garments now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The devil's in the ocean and the water supply.
The devil's in the ocean.
What was it?
For context, that comes from my husband's utter confusion and disgust that missionaries can't swim.
Yeah.
I could not understand. I could not understand why they couldn't swim. And then they told me and I'm like, no.
The devil rules the seas. Duh.
You're shitting me. Not anyway. I would say extreme. Oh, what can I get away with saying? Extreme enabling. I would say you would see so many people kind of encourage certain behavior, which you would say is problematic, but they see it as, oh, we're putting up our religious boundaries.
Yeah.
They prep, which I didn't realize was a religious thing. They're like, yeah, they're preppers.
Yeah.
Not to the extreme of putting I mean, some of them are, apparently.
some of them, yeah.
I met some people at the picnic that like, yeah, people with containers on the ground. I'm like, sweet. That is insane.
Yeah, you know, Jesus could come back at any time.
Anytime.
We're in the latter days.
You have to have your food storage for him.
Yeah. If I were to go,
Jesus is going to come to our door and be like, where's your food?
I'm hungry.
I want my canned tomatoes.
Yeah.
Polygamy, and I know that's very it's very much like there's a lot of pop culture surrounding Mormons and polygamy, but that's kind of what I associate with Mormons.
Yeah.
Also on the cup, a porn site.
A porn site?
There's a porn site.
Really?
Specifically.
There's a specific category called Mormon porn.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
It's pretty much garment porn.
It's garment porn.
And missionaries.
It is so boring.
What the fuck? This exists?
It exists. Anything exists. If you can think of it as a porn about it.
Oh, on a sidetrack, Sister May's, after our Lord Chastity's episode, she has decided to look at porn. Not seriously, but to have a little look. So
she's dabbled.
She's dabbled, and we've now corrupted her. But we'll have to tell her all about that.
Yeah.
She'll enjoy that.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Okay, I don't know if this is a religious thing, but I happen to notice a lot of Mormons tend to be very big on pets.
Really?
Do they?
Yeah. Is that not a thing? Because I've noticed. Is it just
not
your?
noticed
It might
that. Maybe it's...
it might just be
Wow.
Brother Hyrum's. I can't call you brother. It might just be Hyrum's family.
Like, are you literally just looking at my parents?
No, but like people in your church, how I have met, they always got animals.
Well, I've got an animal.
Henry.
Henry.
And doesn't what's her name?
Sister May.
Sister May. She has like cats.
Let me do it for you, Hermie. Sister Donna has a greyhound.
I have a long boy.
She has a long dog.
Yeah. No, I always assumed it was like some kind of companionship. But I'd like to point out that it's very easy for me to believe that, considering you guys have like special garments and you can't swim.
Magical garments.
And prepping.
Unfortunately, we can't have our pets sealed to us though for time and all eternity.
Where are the garments?
I think my point is
Charlie?
like I would believe you would tell me like you guys can only be blonde, and I'd believe it.
Yeah. I think we should start baptizing dogs.
Wash away their sins.
Yeah.
Styles, I'm going to wash away your sins.
Well, Henry's not at the age of accountability yet. He's not 8 yet.
In dog years or human years?
He's still innocent. Oh, well, human years, I guess. I mean, what would he be in dog years? I think he's middle-aged in dog years.
But what if he carries the sins of your transgressions?
No.
Does he know the handshake?
Do you think my sins will be answered upon the heads of my dogs?
Do you reckon you could teach him like one of the tokens?
He doesn't have thumbs.
Raise your right paw to the square.
And with the other paw in cupping motion.
It's gold.
Sorry, now I'm just like imagining
It's
Henry
absolute
like
gold.
dressed up in the temple robes and doing
do you still have your robes?
no, I don't.
You could start a new TikTok trend.
Dressing dogs up in
Dressing
temple.
long dogs in temple clothes.
Oh, what an idea.
I've got an idea.
If anyone would like to send us the temple robes.
I wonder if you have to have an active temple recommended by Temple Clothes on LDS store.
Oh, I don't know.
We'll corrupt someone to do it for us. Okay,
Yeah.
done deal. Anyway,
Sorry, back to the topic.
story.
Yes.
okay. Was there anything else you would add?
That's all I can think of at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. Pretty, yeah. Interesting.
It's random stuff.
So, when you met Brother Hyrum, like, how long had you guys, like, known each other before, like, he said anything about his religious upbringing?
2 seconds.
All right. Okay.
I found out about his ex-mormon past on the first date.
Right. And
It was a real discussion point.
No, because
yeah.
there was a very defining moment in that date that I thought was really interesting. He took me to Costco for dinner, which I actually really love. Like, I'm frugal at heart, and that was a key changer for me.
Wow.
But
Cheapskates.
he took me back to his place, and he showed me this bottle of vodka that he had in his fridge, and he was like, no, he was really proud of it. He's like, oh my god, I'll show you this really good
There we
thing.
go.
No, but something.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
He had this bottle of vodka that was, he said in his mind, like, oh, this is a really good bottle of vodka. He was very proud of it, and he brought it to and showed it to me, displayed it to me.
I mean,
And
it wasn't Smirnoff, so it was better.
No, but I realized that he must be really into alcohol because he presented me a bottle of Absolute. And I was like,
That cost a fuck ton of money.
it's like $30.
It was actually like 60.
What? You got ripped off, man.
You can't get a bottle of Absolute for $30.
Yeah, you can.
Anyway, moving on. We will fact check this later.
Well, maybe not with inflation, but when I was a child.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, vodka was
Bottle
free.
of vodka only cost $30.
Yeah. We used to buy a pack. You could get like a 20 pack of cigarettes for like 12. No, 15.
Jeez. I have no idea what cigarettes cost.
Well, you can get the same amount for like 35 now.
Can confirm
Damn.
a 700ml bottle of Absolute is $41.35. Thank you. Moving on.
All right, well, kind of in the middle. You guys were both wrong.
Anyway. So
Anyway,
what gave it away?
What gave it away was after that, and you were so excited. I asked you genuinely, like, "Hey, what makes you into, like, what makes you really excited about this?" Like, I was genuinely curious. And then you opened up about your past, and you opened up a bit about your history, and I got to know about like your whole experience with, you know, becoming Mormon and coming out of the closet after getting kicked out of the church. And, you know, you told me about your missionary trip. Like, this all happened on the first date. And I was
Holy
like, whoa,
shit.
okay.
I talk first.
Yes. Covers, sorry. Brother Hyrum covers 20 topics within like 2 minutes.
We're going to have so many bleeps.
Yes, he can really grab a crowd. But it was definitely an indicator. It was your, because I was curious at whether it was upbringing choice or religious practice.
Yeah.
But you were so invested and excited, and, you know, being myself in my 20s and just being done with alcohol. I'm like, I've lived through that and it sucks.
In your 20s?
Yeah.
Man.
Start, y'all get them out of it, y'all. But Ben being so excited about it, I'm like, oh, I'm curious. Like, what led to you being so excited about this? Because it's Absolute. You can't be a vodka fanatic because it's Absolute vodka.
You obviously knew nothing about
It's
alcohol.
it's like saying you're a wine expert and then you bring out a ball of passion pop. It's just like, wow.
Unbelievable.
But it was what sparked that that curiosity, and then you answered my question. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. And then he proposed to me like a week later.
No, I did not.
Oh no, I did. Okay.
I did not.
Okay, that's fair. It's exaggeration.
Honestly,
but
you
hands on
two.
God. Hands on God. We did move in a week after that.
Oh my god.
Well, okay, you did.
Yeah.
You needed a place to stay, and I had a free bed.
I had a rough
I had
childhood.
a free half of bed, to be precise.
I moved in with him after a week.
So, like, did you go on this first date and you were just like, oh man, this guy's insane, but man, I need somewhere to live?
When you put it like that.
Oh wow.
And then you just got trapped after that.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't
Okay,
leave
Hey,
now.
I just met you. Let's move in.
No, let me explain. So you gotta understand, in most circumstances, that would never happen. Guys would not throw you a bone of any sort. They would not give you comfort. They would not be there for you as a person, especially if you're like on Grindr or Tinder, or you like, gay men don't care about you or care about each other enough to do that. So it was definitely a more of a lean towards it's who he is as a person, but also there's something about his history that leads him to be this genuine. He was a kind-hearted, very understanding man, and he, in a time of great stress for me, which wasn't his fault, and I never expected it from him, he offered me his home, and that with me was like, oh, what made you like this? Because, you know, nice guys, traditionally, nice guys are just the worst. You know, it's like there's some bad juju behind guys who try and be the nice guy.
Yeah.
So it was
Glad
a
I'm
shocker.
recording this.
Yeah. No, you can use it for evidence when I get to senile age and I start calling you everything under the sun.
What do you mean get to senile age?
Yeah, next 2
already
years. No, but the one thing I could say is, sorry.
Fuck's sake.
The one thing I could say is Hyram's genuine heart is so big that I was swooned
Yeah.
almost immediately. Like, he really caught my attention. He was confident in what he wanted, in the love he had, and you don't get that with a lot of people who don't have religious backgrounds, or even do have religious backgrounds. They tend to be very much internalized, very much homophobic in their own ways, or they're just downright terrible people. So I was really curious, like what church or what religion led to this? Because I thought for a while,
Who hurt you?
yeah, like who hurt you? Who hurt you? Because I know for a fact that people this kind has been through a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're this nice to me, who'd you kill? Like, who'd you see get killed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did someone get popped in front of you?
Do you think the whole like being like, this is a question for you, Brother Hyrum. Do you think the whole being like very open about who you are and the things that you've been through and all of that kind of relates back to this sort of like confession culture that's like fostered in the church? Like, you know, because from the time you're like 12, you know, you're like admitting sins and stuff to your bishop and whatever. So you kind of like I don't know, because I kind of see that in myself sometimes, that I can be a bit too revealing.
Yeah,
like
there aren't really many secrets, and that's something I notice in my day-to-day life as well. Like at work, like I often overshare with my colleagues, like it's stuff like, you know, about my day-to-day life that normally you wouldn't necessarily share.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, say my grandmother is unwell, and so, you know, I've shared a lot of detail about that, and it's stuff that usually you just keep to yourself. And I think, you know, growing up, you're conditioned to share everything.
Yeah.
And you're conditioned also to share things specifically that fall into line with what you're supposed to share as well, and what you think is the right thing to say. And you often, in a way, people please. You know, you tell people what they want to hear.
Yeah. Well, I think even, I mean, like, because I was just thinking about, you know, when we share our testimonies in church, you know, it's all about like there's this pressure on fast and testimony meeting to go up and like share your beliefs and share like, you know, your feelings about the gospel and this and that. And I kind of, and I wonder if like having that religious upbringing and having, you know, those experiences leads us to be more likely to like open up about things, you know, sooner than maybe other people without that sort of upbringing might do.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. It's definitely a fair point. It's you're sort of conditioned to open up in those sorts of ways. Yeah. So Brother Mosiah. So it's weird saying that.
The same Mosiah. I can't handle you call me brother.
You have to be Brother Mosiah.
I thought we did yesterday. You can't call me brother.
Anyway, moving on. I mean, that's a you know, next to Mormon porn, there's a whole kink on that as well.
Oh my god.
TMI. So looking at, I guess, you know, first getting to know me and understanding where I've come from and my history, and you know, we've been together nearly 8 years now. Or 7 years. 7 years this year.
Oh yeah, because we're coming up to our
It feels like a long time. I'm glad you're sitting across the room. So, you know, we're coming up to a decent milestone, and you've been able to see the development and growth over time. So, you know, from that first moment of curiosity, where you're sort of starting to understand at a base level of who I am, where I've come from, what have you seen over the years, and what opinion have you formed of the church based on seeing me, but in extension, this is a very loaded question, in extension, seeing my family as well?
This could be dangerous.
You can start with just what you've sort of seen.
I just like
with
to put out that I adore Brother Hyrum's family. They're honestly such beautiful people. I do love them, even though I can be such a harsh bitch, and I'm cold and I'm reserved every time we hang out with them. I'm the quiet one in the corner, but I still love just watching them be people, because they're honestly they're beautiful. It's a dynamic that I didn't fully expect to encounter when I got involved with your family. When I first met them, I kind of thought the dynamics were very much like a nuclear family. You know, you had the mother, the father, the siblings, and you guys had the dynamics of a family. Like Cheaper Bud does it. The siblings fought, the parents fought, but the parents loved each other and they would give each other like a little smirk, like after a little mini fight, they'd kiss and then, you know, go. And it was really sweet coming from a family dynamic that isn't very much like that. It was very nice and refreshing, and it kind of really invited me in because I'd never had a solid foundation for what a family should be like, which plays a role in how I treat them. You know, I don't know how to be a part of a family. At first, the first few years, I obsessed over my husband's family. It was like, I want them to be mine. So I fell into the ranks and I looked past things. But now, after finally getting through the knots and after years of developing and living with your parents for 6 months,
that was a time.
That'll do it.
I've picked up on some interesting characteristics.
Yeah.
Now, I think everyone in that family has a value to them, and I do emphasize that a lot. I don't want to make it sound like I'm being very judgy here, but
I am.
I see a lot of good in the spouses of the members of this family, and I see
spouses.
Yes, so I find that the girlfriend and the wife, the other two of the family, and the husband, I've seen a lot of like.
Wait, I feel like there needs to be some sort of like context
really
given
hard.
here,
Okay,
because
so I'm one of seven.
like
I'm one of seven
the
siblings.
husband and the girlfriend and the wife.
So I've got one sister who is married, has a husband, and then I've got 5 brothers, and most of them have partners except 2. Mm-hmm. So so the girlfriend and the wife are the relevant ones here.
Yeah.
Of your brothers.
Yeah. So my second oldest brother and my next younger brother.
Right.
So I see a lot of intelligence and creativity and development in this.
Where?
in the partners, I do see a lot of.
That's fair. I
do see a lot of like really amazing qualities in the partners, but I do also notice one common quality that most of us share, and that is a lot of patience. Yeah, a lot of us tend to be patient with our partners because the family that I'm married into, they have been ingrained in their minds to believe certain negative outlooks. You know, like misogyny can be a bit prevalent. You can see a lot of responsibility put into the women and not so much the men. You can see some casual racism thrown out there. There was a time when, you know, a casual joke about me, context, I'm ethnic. There's a context of me being related to almost everyone from the region I'm in. I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah. And I had to like kind of like let that go because it wasn't who they were deep down. It was just more so kind of what they're conditioned to believe. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that
racism.
I'm a firm believer. Look, even Hyrum, when I met him, he had little things that seemed innocent in his mind, but I had to point out was problematic long term. Now, here's something, and call you out for it. I said babe.
I thought you said my name.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, Hyrum. I'm going to call you out for this.
Now we know that your name
is Babe.
It's actually Babe.
Wow. Okay, so Hyrum's had preferences. And he had and it kind of bordered on he had a type, but then he had people who weren't his type. And he used to lean towards things. But also there were certain attributes he had with our female friends over our male friends that caused problems. One thing I told him recently, I said I really appreciated the relationship he has with, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting your name, the sisters.
Donna
Kebab and Mayfire.
Yes.
The relationship he has with you two, because he is very different with you guys. It's very open, very much him. It's who I see on a regular. It's not the run that other people get. Because I notice there are two different kinds of personalities when it comes down to a lot of religious people. It's who they want to be and who they think they have to be. Yeah. And who they want to be tend to be on the kinder side, the more understanding side. But who they feel like have to be tend to be more judgmental, and they tend to be leading towards the more undesirable traits.
Yeah, I can see that.
When I started a relationship with Brother Hyrum, there were issues that came about. One thing, I had experienced, not a lot, but I had experienced some racial profiling in the duration of our relationship, and it took a lot of effort for that to be kind of revealed as a thing, because after watching that TV show, I realized, it's kind of normal to be racist towards people who have different skin types.
And for context, which TV show?
The one with the murder. That girl got butchered with her baby. What is it?
Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Under the Banner of Heaven.
That's the one,
That one.
So we're watching that, and I saw just how casual the racism is thrown at that. I'm like, now that makes sense. Because you guys could say that, and even people in your church could validate that, because it's like, it's part of the religion. We know it's our religion. We justify it because it's true, but it's like, yeah, but outside your religion, it's very much bad. It took a lot of honest conversations with himself for him to get onto a level where he can put himself in my shoes. He can understand the challenges I faced, and he can understand the differences of our lives were. And when he started doing that, I was able to see past everything else and understand parts of the church. And I'm like, okay, this is what happened, and this is how this happened. And I learned to understand and even come to admire some attributes he gained from the church. But I can also see the damage that was done, and just how that kind of exposure long term and just the acceptance of that kind of behavior can really damage you. It's like, it was so easy to be hateful in some aspects.
Yeah.
But you guys, you didn't see it as hateful. You saw it as, it's normal in our preachings to believe this.
Interesting enough. So today I met with a family, and the father that had died, he was born in 1929 in Germany, and he was born just before World War II. And so when he was about 10, World War II was just kicking off, and through his teenage years, he was drafted into Hitler's youth army. And so that way he was preparing to go fight in the war as a Nazi. And his son had asked him, about did you not realize this was so wrong, and how wrong it was? And he said, well, no, because all that we were getting fed was the propaganda saying we're winning the war, you're fighting for your country, and the West is horrible, and this is the right thing to do. And so you believed it with your whole heart. And that actually really struck a chord with, what we're talking about now, is that you don't know unless you know.
Yeah. Like, I remember there was a time we were having dinner, and your mom said something that was actually very hurtful. And I remember thinking to myself, your mom is not that person. She is gentle and kind and considerate. And she doesn't know she said something hurtful, because she grew up with this. It's a normal. And it was never a problem after that. I never made it into a problem, because I knew that wasn't her, but it's what she believed was normalized. I mean, at the moment, there is a conversation on transgender, because there is a grandchild in the mix who has a friend who's transgender. And, I can see the growth from back then when something she said offended me. But I was like, okay, let it go. She's now doing her best to understand and appreciate this child for what the child wants and wants to be feeling and wants to be identified for. Yeah. And she does her best. And I really appreciate just the growth she's been through, even her age. I don't believe old dogs can't like me tricks. That's a bullshit lie, because at any age you can learn something new. Like, your mom has a lot of strength in her, and she's able to rewire herself to make people happy. And that's, honestly, I think if that's part of the church, I really value that. If that's her, I really value that about her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
but it's true. Like, I never expected it to be like a blame game of like, oh, you have the right to, because I've seen it, the conditioning, and I'm like, wow, you guys really don't like understand some parts of how the world works because they really fed it to you.
Yeah.
Like, even now, there are moments where I wonder, when I talk to members who are ex-Mormon or even still Mormon, I wonder, like, oh, like, how much do you understand this reality? How far can I bring it up with you?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to offend, because it may not even be a problem that they recognize, and that's something I can't myself bring up.
Yeah. I mean, I think like all of that sort of reminds me about like kind of my view on homosexuality when I was in the church. And like, yeah. And like, because you're just sort of taught that it's not right. Like, it's not part of God's plan. And like, like it's the whole plan of happiness is about having children and all of this. So like, and like gay people frustrate that plan because they can't. But like, you kind of, like the mental gymnastics you have to do to like have that opinion and have it like not feel hateful, like, or, like it just makes no sense. Like, if God genuinely loves everyone, why would he create people that are gay and then deny them the chance at love? Like, it's just, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I can see, there was a lot of
get angry.
Yeah, there was a lot of that sort of like opinion that I sort of held, I think, growing up in the church, and then coming out of it, like, it's that whole, I'm being now like who I want to be rather than what I felt like I had to be, because like, like I remember when we were having the gay marriage plebiscite here in Australia, and at that time I was still very much like in the church, very embedded in the gospel and whatever. And and we were receiving a lot of pressure from our church leaders to vote no on that. And like, you had the option to not vote at all. But we were being pressured to vote and to vote against gay marriage. Yeah. And at the time, like, I was living with my husband and my mother-in-law. And like, we'd all talked about it, and we'd, like they said that they were going to be voting no, and that was like, that was what we sort of had to do. That was what was expected of us. So in that thing, like, I voted no, and I think about that like all the time now, and I feel so awful that I had that belief, or that I was convinced that that was the right choice to make. Because it's something that just doesn't like matter. Yeah. And
I invited you to my wedding.
I know.
She got everyone sick. Yeah. That was her. She's just like secretly like, oh, anti-gay.
You're a secret spy. Like, spreading your anti-gay propaganda.
Like, I know, it's just wild to me. Like, thinking back that I like let myself feel that way, and that I was able to, convince myself that, what the church was telling me was true, and that like, it's wild, the kind of the things that we make ourselves believe because people tell us that that's right.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's strictly to religion, but like, delusions can happen to almost everyone.
Yeah.
And, your perspective can shift dramatically. I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with when they try and lean away from religion, and just they have to face up to how negative they can be. Like, when I was a child and I was not thinking any better than as an adult, I was really ignorant. I used to say some really stupid things online. And, I think about that too. And I don't think it's something you should really punish yourself for, because you've come around to it. You've come around to accepting reality in a way that is more loving and accepting than the one you were taught.
Yeah.
And that can mean a lot for a lot of people. And in the end, love wins.
Yeah.
I guess it sort of segues into my next question in terms of the church and what you've seen. It's you haven't been directly pushed right into it, but with what you've seen over the years, what are some of the most hurtful teachings that you've seen? Because this podcast is about our experiences and the traumas that we've faced, and I guess it's a good perspective for someone that hasn't been in the church but has seen the effect.
I really have a soft spot for all the women in the church. I've seen intelligent, kind, beautiful girls get treated more than breeding cows. And it's shocking just how little regard their husbands can be towards them. I'm not putting like full feelers out there, but I do know one couple where the woman is really intelligent. She's so in tune with people that she can see you struggling just through your eyes. She can understand where you're coming from. She can actually listen to you, and she can problem solve. And she's raised children to be independent and kind and all that. But if you were to meet her husband, you would see a man who's very stuck in his ways. He's a very heavy tunnel vision. And it's in a long sense, he doesn't appreciate, at least from my perspective, doesn't appreciate just how much his wife has this beautiful mind inside of her. But it's always valued, like his opinion is always valued over hers. And it's always his say is always higher than hers.
Yeah.
When she knows the answer every time.
Yeah.
And he can talk about it for 40 minutes and still not figure out what to do.
I guess misogyny is a pretty big part of the church.
Yeah. Because I've noticed that a lot of men in the church tend to lean more towards they want to get a wife young. They want to have family young. And so they are pressured to do, from what I understand, they go on missions because it's a privilege, or also like a celebrity status.
Well, it's a right, but it's also it's mandatory.
Like it's a part of your stepping stones into becoming a family man.
Yeah. Well, I think like, if you're really like following the church path and whatever, if you don't go on a mission, like all of your prospective like partners, like all of the other, like the women in the church are just not going to be that interested in you, because like if you haven't fulfilled your like duty to God by going on your mission, then that means that like you're not actually committed to the gospel. And if you can't be committed to going on a mission, like how are you going to be committed to an eternal marriage and stuff like that?
And kids and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess so. I've met more couples than not where I can tell the husband doesn't even like her.
Yeah.
And it's a bit sad because you can tell the wife puts a lot of effort in, but I was like, I'm done. I'm married.
Yeah.
I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to be a dick. I'm going to play games all day. And I'm not going to do anything towards my children. I'm going to expect my wife to do all of it. And what's even hurtful, what's even worse, is I see a lot of women fall into that trap of letting that happen. And because of how they were raised, they enable that. And they don't see the value they hold. And it's really disheartening to see that that could have been avoided if the right words were used. And it was like they didn't lean towards men should always be in charge and women should just be in the background. It's same with, I've seen, comments about how people of color, which from my understanding, a large Islander community, a large portion of church here at least has a large Islander community. But even they get discriminated against. And it's like, you're a part of the same church. It really confuses me at some cases of like, why would you let this happen? Why would you let them treat you like this?
Well, it was only a few decades ago that men of color weren't able to receive the priesthood that white men could.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you treat yourself? Why would you condemn yourself to that? Let people treat you in such a way. And it's because they believe that that's how God chooses the life for them. which is really hard because like why would white men be left to be in charge? What God would let white men be in charge?
Supreme.
Right?
Supreme. I have not met one of you who's genetically able to drink milk.
No further comments, Your Honor.
Biggest enemy, lactose.
Every white man I know is allergic to something. No, but
That's
seriously,
hilarious.
it's you hear it firsthand outside perspective, and you think, wow, it is set up for men of a certain skin tone to always get what they want, and everyone else is a side character for them, and they can use and abuse them as they see fit to get to their priesthood. And it's disheartening because I don't really care about them. They can rot. It's the other people who fully believe that they are nothing more than the stepping stones. I'm like, you are your own person. You are an individual. You should value that. If you love a certain person and you want to put in the efforts to try and make it work, fair enough. But if you don't value the relationship because if they don't value the relationship as much as you value it, you're just going to be chasing after a door that's never going to open.
Yeah.
That's a really
fair.
weird analogy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Chasing after an animal that you'll never catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's just a lot of segregation and a lot of self-hate. It's really hard to watch.
Yeah. It is. It's interesting to see that perspective. You know, like, because these are issues that, like, I can see in the church as well. But yeah, like, knowing that it's, like, obvious from the outside as well, I think really goes to show that, like, it's a massive problem. The misogyny in the church and the racism and the homophobia. Like, there's a lot of issues with it. And I think the church tries to, I guess, become more like politically correct.
They try, but
They try.
like a couple months ago, they released this whole, we, in quotation marks, support the same-sex marriage in the States. But it's like, well, no. That all they're doing is just they're not opposing it actively. It wasn't so much that they're supporting it.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they had been opposing it at some point. Like, I know that there was money thrown around in the
They
States.
spent like $8 million or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
It's a lot of money.
Well, 10% of your income, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
Just a little bit.
I also feel bad for that. Like the conditions you guys have to live by. Like growing up Baptist, I thought we were strict. But then hearing the stuff you guys have to like what? Pay 10%. Live your life by a certain standard. You have to do a mission. You have to wear certain clothes. You have to get, I don't know, circumcised. You have to lose a foot. You have to dye your hair black once. You know, it's like there's so many conditions. I'm like, wow, I would give up after the second one.
So out of all of these different conditions and rules and stuff, what are some of your favorite stupid things?
Favorite stupid ones. Okay, you can't have coffee. Why?
Who knows?
I was actually thinking about that today.
Man.
Like, if you go to like a TBM and you talk about the word of wisdom and you go to them and you say, why is coffee bad? I guarantee that it's going to say, well, it just is.
It just is okay.
What I never understood
no follow-up
was-
questions. Thanks.
I asked a question once. I forgot who it was, but someone told me it's based upon we can't have hot drinks.
But you're allowed to have
You can have
herbal tea,
yeah,
and you're
herbal
allowed
tea,
to have hot chocolate.
hot chocolate, soup technically.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what can't you have? It's so broad. It's like, what? Who defined that coffee was
Only
it?
tea and coffee is hot.
Apparently.
Everything else
But
just
if you
mimics hotness.
I remember,
Just mimics.
no, because I was talking to a friend of mine who works with me, and he's Mormon, and we had this discussion actually, and I said to him, "Why can't you just have an iced coffee?" And he actually looked really angry. It's like, wait.
Well, actually, funny enough, so one of my colleagues is Mormon,
Really?
and she drinks coffee.
What?
I haven't had that discussion with her yet. I haven't had the time, but I'm going to one day, because she doesn't work in the same place. Like she works for the same company, but she doesn't work at the same office. So all I know is that she drinks coffee and she loves her coffee. And she sent me a coffee meme and a joke saying, I'll have a coffee, but I didn't actually think she was serious. So now I have to have the discussion as to like, what?
Yeah. Have the rules changed?
Yeah, but like the coffee thing definitely got me. I was floored by the you can't swim on a mission. that really got into my head. I'm like,
because of the devil.
Yeah, but like
in the ocean.
No. So when the guy looked me dead in the eye, he's like, "Oh, we can't swim." I'm like, "Oh, so you don't like swimming?" He's like, "No, we can't swim." I'm like, why? Smile on his face, big blue eyes. Because the devil's in the water. And I was like, what mushrooms have you consumed? Because what?
That's a funny thing because I'm still convinced it's just somebody's done something stupid and it's like, that's going to be a rule now.
Yeah. The church is like, man, we've had too many missionaries fucking drowning in the ocean.
It's like they confiscate all of your passports when you're on a mission.
Well, it
just because they think you're going to lose them.
It kind of sounds like half these things are made up because they're like people just didn't like it. And like, actually, no, none of the rest of you can't have it.
About control.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing you do when you want to control someone. You stop giving them the ability to do things.
Yeah.
That they
Take
really
away
enjoy.
all of their fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
There was another one that I was told a while ago, but I couldn't quite understand it. It was the symbols on the garments.
Yeah.
But also you had to be buried in the garments. I never fully got explained to me why the garments are a thing, nor why you have to wear them when you die.
You have garments now. I've placed them upon you.
Okay, cool. So my garments are...
They're actually pajamas.
What purpose do they play?
So with
they're protection.
Yeah.
From
they're
what?
magic.
The protection from sin and things.
Protection from
It's very
bullets
vague, all right? Stop questioning
it.
I'm just... Listen, okay.
So the symbols are representative of different like parts. Like the one in your knee is a sign that every knee shall bow to, was it to God or Jesus, whatever.
Jesus, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. So they're symbols that represent like the compass one is that you're heading in the right direction or whatever. They're just symbolic. That's all the symbols are for.
They're just so like there's one that's like an arrow, I guess, or a V, and that's the compass one. So that one's like heading in the direction of whatever. God.
Doesn't it point at your crutch?
It does. Isn't that interesting?
Back of it.
And then you've got another one.
I feel like... what would you call it?
Boner garage. Boner garage.
Boner garage.
I'm going to get a tramp stamp that says Boner garage.
That's amazing. Yeah, so and then there's another one that's like a corner of a square. And that one's to do with exactness, like you've got to be perfectly obedient.
It's like a 9-degree angle.
Yeah. And then you've got one like just a line on your belly button, and that's like, I don't know, strengthen your navel, to do with your health and stuff. And then, yeah, the one on your knee about like bowing. But yeah, they all like just represent like different covenants you make and promises made, I suppose.
Because I watched Hyram's parents' clothes once when we were living with them. And I washed them and I was like, wow.
Really?
Interesting
They
garments.
let you wash the garments.
I don't think they really thought about it.
No, I was very heavily reminded. I was told about it.
Yeah.
Right after I did it, that I shouldn't have. But it was like, oh, okay, special underwear.
But I think my parents have always been like, they're not like laxed in it, but they're realistic.
I think also would have been like a privacy thing. I may have just like, I didn't realize that it was, this is like your special garments that,
It's sacred.
But I guess like it also came down to when I was doing temple prep. Like mum and dad didn't want me to be like go in there and be like, oh shit, this is a cult.
Yeah.
And so when I got all my temple clothes, they actually took me to their room. It was my siblings couldn't hear, and they showed me the different temple clothes. And so I go into the bathroom, change in. We'll show you how to do the apron.
Did you
up.
get a cape?
Yeah, I got. It's an apron, and it's a sash. So they showed me how to do it up, and Dad went through some parts. Like, all right, there's one point where you have to change shoulder. You know they don't change shoulders anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
back in my
days,
So I'm just picturing like a My Kitchen Rules outfit with the apron on.
Kind of. I'll show you a picture after this.
Okay.
I mean, you got a chef's hat.
You get a chef's hat. Chef's kiss. Mwah.
Wow.
And so he showed me all the different things with it. So that way, made sure it all fit and showed me how to do it up. So that way, when I got there, it wasn't completely hopeless. But a lot of hardcore Mormon families, they'd be like, "Nah, you can't see it outside the temple." But it's like, we got to wash it and iron it anyway.
I mean, I think I remember, I tried on my things and adjusted, the apron thing to make sure that it fit and whatever. But yeah, and I sort of I knew that there was going to be some weird temple clothes things going on, but I didn't really. Yeah, there was no discussion about, I guess, what promises would be made and stuff, because that was the more sacred thing. Yeah, very weird.
Anyway, we're back to your favorite weird things.
The dead thing was interesting.
That's very ominous.
Let me give you the context. So
Sorry, we're very low energy at the moment. It's a school night.
Me and Brother Hyrum, right? We are engaged to be married, and he looks at me in the eye during a conversation once. He's like, "Oh yeah, well I've done it a few times." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Because I used to marry dead people." I'm like, "What?" And he explains to me, he's like,
Brother Hyram's like, I've actually been married many times.
I've been married about a dozen times.
He sat me down. He's like, okay, this is what happens. They'll you stay in place with someone in the afterlife to get married through, because you can't ascend until you're married. So they'll marry you to some random person. I'm like, so first of all, not consensual.
Well, you don't get married to a random person. You get married to whoever you were married to in this life. So if your great-great-grandmother and great-great-grandfather were married, then they would, marry them again in the temple. What are you doing?
I'm scratching my foot and I moved the table.
You're rocking the whole microphone.
Wait, so they would marry him twice?
Well, yeah, because you've got to be married in the temple and have a temple ceremony for your marriage to be legit in heaven.
Also, it wasn't just a marriage; it was you had to be married in the building.
So the people that you were sending in proxy for, they were legally married when they were alive. They just weren't temple married.
Yeah,
and so you go along and you're temple married. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that part. Yeah. That's weirder. That's more bizarre. I mean,
it's good that they're I guess getting married to the person that they married in this life and not some random person. But then also what if they didn't? They didn't actually want to be with their spouse forever?
Yeah. It's nah,
fuck you.
I don't want to be with Howard for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No, but I remember I was setting up the altar at our wedding, and I remember that thought crossed my mind, and I'm like, no wonder he's so calm.
Wow.
He's done this several times.
Wow.
Because I'm just nervous as all hell. Mez is I'm good. I'm collected. I've practiced.
I don't think we'll get into the bridezilla of the wedding. So
I was totally a bridezilla.
We are going to move on.
I was bridezilla for the first time. You've done it several times.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
How was your other weddings?
Oh my god.
You did bridezilla for your other wedding?
Oh my goodness.
I bet you were.
Wait, Brother Hyrum, who did you get? Who stood in as proxy for the wife?
Some old chick.
Some old
I don't
lady.
know who she was.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. You go into...
Did you get married to a grandma?
Yeah, she was in her 70s.
Oh my god, did you? Oh no.
Mosiah.
Mosiah.
I mean...
Mosiah Hyrum.
They didn't have to consummate the marriage.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, there was no physical intimacy involved.
You didn't have
All
that
I did was hold her hands.
Why do you think that altar's padded?
Oh my God, no. Oh no.
Mormons After Dark.
Oh my god! Imagine that was what like, nah, I'm gay. Imagine that's what Hyrum was like, nah, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Look, I had many a revelation in that room.
Nah, man, grandma, not happening.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we're getting on with time at the moment, and we're all getting ready for bed. So, I think we're going to have to continue this one day when we have another friend on board. I haven't thought of a name yet, though. What I can call her before I give her a new name.
Medusa.
That'll work. So we're going to get her on as well because she has also seen a lot of my growth and my progress through the church. And she definitely has opinions on the church as well.
Oh, she has many.
Many opinions, and on me. But that's beside the point. So thank you all for joining us. Are there any closing thoughts that we wanted to share?
Any closing remarks?
I think there is these kinds of religions that can play out long term. This has not met any of the categories that I assumed, because it's like there's so many plot holes. I'm like, first of all, what happened to those golden plates?
They just went back up to heaven.
That is for another day for you to find out.
Well, there's so many plot holes. The way I describe this to Medusa, another friend, is it's kind of like reading a really bad transcript.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-year-old wrote it.
It's like watching Scary Movie 7.
It's a scary movie of religion.
It's just like several different movies smashed together, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's happening.
If you read it in context, it's scary.
Okay.
I mean, like, because when you're in it, like it's fun to laugh about it now. And because like all of that stuff just seems so obvious, and you're like, oh my god, like of course this was all just a fraud. But when you're in it, you're just like, I mean, anything that I don't know, God, he'll reveal it later. God works in mysterious ways. Everything is revealed line upon line, precept upon precept. You like tell yourself so many things that just like help you to gloss over the fact that there is so much like inconsistency and like gaps, and but looking at it now, you're just like, oh my god, how did I not realize this sooner?
Yeah.
Can I offer a piece of advice? Just going for
Is this for us or for all of our listeners as well?
All listeners, all ex-Mormons, coming from someone who has been on the other end, I guess would say the extreme side of growing up and development. I'm going to say this. Cool it down with the alcohol intake and the drug use, because I know it's fun. I know you want to try it, but my God.
Wow. Good to know.
No, but seriously.
I feel attacked.
It can be a bit scary. I guess.
Noted.
And I guess you shouldn't glamorize having all of those experiences straight up. It's one thing I have noticed with one thing I have noticed with Hyrum is that he feels as if he missed out on parts of his childhood due to not having these glamorous experiences like underage drinking and partying, but I'm like, they weren't fun. Like,
I don't know if that's glamorous.
Yeah, like
that's
glamorous
true.
is the
it's
word
not
for
glamorous
it.
at all. Like while I was like trying to get with someone, there's a girl throwing up on my shoulder. Like it's like calm down with the fun, because it can get a little reckless. And I have seen some people, maybe I've heard that there's stories of ex-Mormons freshly out of church will drink a little too much too quickly.
Yeah.
You live and learn.
Yeah.
You live and learn.
Live and learn.
My closing thought is it's something we were talking about over dinner this evening. It's actually really easy to start a cult. So those interested in joining, we do require tithing. And please submit an application to onceuponaMormon@gmail.com.
You just don't want to work anymore.
That's essentially it. I want to be paid like a general authority. They get paid 6 figures.
Well, the church.
Like the people that run the church get paid 6 figures.
I assumed so. Yeah. I mean, they can afford like a marble building.
But the difference is they pretend like they don't.
Do you know how expensive it is to have a marble tombstone, let alone a building?
Millions.
Yeah.
But the Brisbane temple was like $14 million to build, something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look up some figures.
I don't know.
It was a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
So if you do want to reach out, onceuponawoman@gmail.com or reach out on social media at onceuponawoman. And please subscribe to our Patreon.
Yes.
We're sort of getting it up and
Yeah, we
running.
have a Patreon.
Pretty sure we've sort of started. We have tiers on that now, but the link to it is in our show notes, as well as the link to our Facebook and our email address, all in the show notes. So, thank you again for joining us, and thank you, brother, husband Mosiah.
I hate that.
Brother Mosiah.
No, there's enough incest.
Do we
in
go
this.
back to the husband of the brother Hyrum?
The husband of the brother Hyrum. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, our listeners, for joining us as well. We appreciate you.
As always, yes.
And until next time, God bless.
No.
In the name of Mosiah.
In the name of Mosiah's incest. Amen.
No.